Oh shit.
Was you zipper down this whole time? Stop it.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh shit. Damn. Let's see. There we go.
Oh, that's you.
Did it try?
Yeah. Are we live?
Go live. Go
No,
live.
hopefully. You better tell me that we are.
Go live. We're live. Right there.
You're stupid. Hey.
Hey, what's up, fam? Oh man. Yeah, man. We just, like I said, we're in a new space, just trying to get everything situated. And it just BSing around as we do. But like we always do at the beginning of each and every show, giving shout outs to entrepreneurs and business owners. The first one, of course, is my sister, Aries Owens, and her book, Hear Me Out, which Amanda has here, which she wants to hold up. Stop looking at the screen.
I know, because it's behind.
So, Going Copper book, family. Here, let me do this. Let me do this. There. So, like I said, Going Copper book, Hear Me Out, Aries Owens. You can follow her here on Facebook, or you can go over to IG at Aries_Owens. Also, giving a shout out to the homie Ethan West and his business at West Wheels. If the chuck holes here in Northeast Ohio have destroyed your rims and took chunks out of it, hit the homie up. You can send him a picture of any scratches, any nicks, any dings, and see what he's able to do for you. The quote is free. Also, giving a shout out to the homie Rodney Dukes at Polish 'em Off. If you need your car detailed, if you need any accessories, any window tint, any ceramic coating, any body side moldings, anything for your car, audio or anything, hit Rodney Dukes up, or you can go over to the page at Polish 'em Off. Over on IG, it is Polish 'em Off ADC, at Polish 'em Off ADC. Also, the homie, hand me those, the shirts, Megadon 216. Surf Club is his t-shirt brand. He has black and he has the blue ones. So you can go over on IG, Surf Club 216, at Surf Club 216, or you can go over to Megadon 216 and order your t-shirts. He does deliver, ship out, and everything. Also, my brother, FC on the Beat, Fred Council Jr., aka FC on the Beat. If you're looking for any type of musical production, hit him up over on IG, or you can go to his link tree and find any style of music that you're looking for to lay a track. He can hook you up with that. All right, so I think that's it. Oh, my aunt Kim Black. If you're looking for any paintings for your house, for the office, or anywhere, go and support her. You can find her here on Facebook at Kim Black. So go and support her. Family, everybody, all the products that I bring before you, please go and support their endeavors and their businesses. Everyone is doing great things. I am proud of them, and they're continuing on moving forward. Last week, of course, Mark D, your host, aka Mr. Candid, and y'all met Amanda Sword last week.
You like my last name.
So, but we're gonna continue the conversation. So these next few weeks is going to be some doozers, some doozies, and I told y'all we coming with that fire. And we disagree on a lot of things, and that's what I love. But even though we disagree, she's still agreeable. That makes sense. Okay. So tonight's topic of conversation is the main topic is, do I have to accept you for who you are? Yes or no? Do I?
Oh, are you asking
I mean,
me now?
if you're if you're getting into a relationship, does that person have to accept you for who you are and all of your fuckery? Do they have to accept that?
Yes and no. Okay, so yes.
Okay.
Yes, in the sense that, like, obviously if you're dating me or you're interested in me or you get to know me, I am who I am. Like, you knew that coming in. But at the same time, like, if things that you're asking to change of me are going to change who I am as a person, or they're going to be so dramatic, or, you know, that I have to change something that is just going to alter who I am or how I live my life, then I feel like those are deal breaker changes. But I mean, I feel like if you're asking to change something or asking me to look at something differently, then I feel like people should be willing to do that. But I guess it just depends on what you want to change about me. That you need to change in order to fit with you, because if you have to change so much, then we're not meant for each other.
Okay.
You right?
All right. Okay. I mean, you asking me right? I mean, like, I don't care.
Okay.
I mean,
No,
'cause
not
I
right.
don't
I mean, okay. So then I'm gonna turn it back to you. Then, I mean, do you think that that I should be willing to change things, or that your partner or people should be willing to change things about themselves, or that you should, you know?
If it's for the betterment of the unit, you know, and we've had the discussion. I initially it has to be a conversation, because as we discussed last week, most people, when getting in relationships, when dating, they put their best foot forward. That, you know, you see one mask out of 362 different masks, because they put on a mask every different day. Now, I will agree, Shawnee made, as she said, to an extent. I agree with that. Would you like to turn your phone on vibrate?
I did this for you so that we can see people less comments.
We can still see without the noise. Microphone picking up everything. She's still a newbie, so bear with her.
Whatever. I have to deal with this from 9 to 5. I don't have to deal with it.
Oh, man. So, like you said, I agree with you, yes and no. You know, the conversation needs to be had on what are you willing to deal with? What are your deal breakers? What are game changers? Because without that conversation, especially up front, because we go into relationships trying to see what we can get out of it. You know, so our egos and fear and scarcity a lot of times thwarts a lot of good relationships. And because the conversations are never had, it causes a problem in the long run. And going back to the question, do I have to accept you for who you are? Yes and no. If there are things that I may deem disrespectful or out of line or out of pocket, like I said, that conversation, it needs to be had. Because maybe I have a corrupt perspective on respect.
Yeah.
So a lot of our perspectives is based on the traumas that we've gone through in our lives, and then we formed our perspective around that trauma. And so the relationships that we oftentimes look for is what psychologists call trauma bonding. So our relationships are trauma bonds, you know, and then we wonder why that relationship is toxic. Now, going into the spiritual, of course, I'm a firm believer each and every relationship is just a mirror of something that you need to work on in your life. You know, so
I think there needs to be transparency, and like you had said, like the masks that we wear or that we show someone, and that's a problem because, like you're saying, I'm saying that there's, there's deal breakers or there's things that I don't want to change about me. So, what if I haven't shown you that about me until a year later or until month 6 or whatever? So I feel like, for sure transparency has to happen. And honestly, some of the best relationships are when people are like friends first, and they tend to, you show them everything right off the rip, and they see everything and they know what they're getting, because you're not trying to necessarily impress them or do this or that. They just see who you are and have grown to know, okay, I can deal with that, or I like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I get that, but here's what I'm struggling with that, is because the longer we wait when it comes to relationships, and we're trying to see, we have, every individual has confirmation biases. So we get tripped up a lot of times because we're waiting for the signs, whether they be red flags or whatever the case may be, where if we have insecurities in ourselves, then we're looking for that person to do or say something that brings validity to our insecurities. So it's a catch-22.
Yeah, I see that.
And so we have to be careful. And that's why I go back to our perspectives being tainted, based on what we've gone through. Because you have brought up the song. I can't even remember the name of the song.
But I was just singing?
Yeah, but I don't know the name.
Oh, she's
and
a
I
runner.
don't know who. Yeah. She's a runner. She's a track star. She runs away when it gets hard. And you had made a comment, you was like, yeah, I'm familiar with that. And most of us are. Most of us are runners when it comes to relationships, when it gets hard, because we're so focused. Like I said, if individuals are crossing the line, that's a conversation that needs to be had. The who, what, when, and why.
Yeah, or if it's not stimulating something that you think it should, or if it's not progressing in the way that you think it should, then you're like, well, I'm just done. I'm not going to sit here and wait for something to happen, or I'm not going to sit here and be on, a time frame that I'm just not sure if it's ever going to get there, or, you know what I'm saying? So if things, are hard, you just give up instead of trying to work at it, and you just start over with someone else and hope that it's not hard. But it never works that way. Because they're supposed to be hard, I think. You know what I'm saying? Like relationships
to a degree are supposed to be hard, because if you always have people around you to protect your toxicity, then how do you know what it is you need to work on? And it's not until you get into an intimate relationship where your partner shows you the things that you need to work on.
And that's where it's hard. When you just said, if you put someone around you that's gonna sit there and feed you like what you want to hear all the time, like that's what people want. But that doesn't produce so if you don't hear that, or someone doesn't do that, then you think that oh well, they don't like me, or they don't this or whatever, because they're calling your bullshit, you know what I'm saying? And they're making you see it, and they're making you realize maybe a different path.
That's because there's two things when people are not around you that stroke your ego. One is accountability, and two is truth. And the truth is what they see based on the reality in that moment. It may not even be who you are, but they saw something that was not in alignment with the betterment of you as an individual. So we don't like it. One of the things about me and the homies is we pull each other's card all day, every day long. Like, we don't hold any punches, but there's no love lost, pause, between us. And
you know what you're getting every time.
Exactly.
And I say, if you get a compliment, it's like the best compliment ever because you don't give them out often. You know what I'm saying? So, no, so I mean, honestly, like you don't want someone that's gonna sit there and tell you look pretty all the time because I know damn well you don't mean it. You know what I'm saying? So I want someone that's gonna be like, wow, like tonight, like you really look nice because you didn't tell me that for the past 5 nights, and I know I looked like crap. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I want someone that's gonna tell me, you know, the truth, and we don't always want to hear the truth though. So I mean, when someone says, hey, you look like you just woke up on the wrong side, or you just look like you didn't get a good night's sleep. Well, who wants to hear that? But
people who are.
But if I don't hear that, then I'm also not gonna. Then I'm also not gonna appreciate the you look nice.
And I think a lot of people take the truth as being facetious, and that's where we have to. Like in today's generation, so many people wear their fucking emotions on their sleeves, and so when the truth is being told to them, it's like in the Matrix. You take the red pill or the blue pill. You know what I'm saying? The blue pill, you'll go back to sleep and nothing will have ever happened or changed. You take the red pill, there's going to be an awakening that's going to happen, and it's going to be hard because you're going to see reality for what it is. We don't want reality. We want the Disney fairy tales, and this is why I asked the question, do I have to accept you for who you are? Because most people are living a life of fantasy, a life of betrayal to their own self. Mm-hmm. They don't know who they are, and then they expect, there's that word again, they expect someone else to come in and know who they are. But they're at conflict with their own self.
And that's the whole fantasy and fairy tale thing that goes with, you know, running away when something like, so if something doesn't look the way that you think it should, the second that it doesn't look that way, or the second it doesn't start to go it goes in the movies, then people walk away and they give up. And it's like you could have just walked away from something that was great, but you just didn't want to work at it. You didn't want to get past what they were asking you to look at differently because you wanted to look at it the way that you have been shown it should be, you know, your whole life. But what you've been watching hasn't been factual life events. Like,
that's why I have people get agitated with me, because when they sit up and discuss with me pertaining to like past relationships, my first question is, what did you do? Well, what do you mean? No. Let's take the light off of them. What did you do? Because it makes two to make a relationship work. It takes two to make a relationship crash. You know, and a lot of times, what we do is goes back to we put our best mask in front of that individual, and then when they see us, when we first wake up and our hair's all over our heads, we got yuck mouth, you know, and they see us with not put together. We got a hole in our sock, you know what I'm saying? Our work shoes have the soles are coming undone. Excuse me. So when they see that, they like, whoa, hold on. Like, you tricked me. Like, no, this is the real me. Well, for, like you said, for 3 months, you got all dialed up. You put your hair in your head, your eyelashes on your face, your makeup on. And so when I see the real you, now you mad because I don't want to deal with you now. And so when I see who you really are, and I choose, you know what, this is not the person that I thought, so why do I have to deal with you? And that's why I said it goes both ways. Now, if you're asking me, are you willing to deal with me while I'm going through my process? That's different. But if you're telling me I got to deal with you as a woman being aggressive, verbally aggressive, and thoughtish, I'm not going to deal with that.
No, and those are completely, I feel like those are definitely, like, and that's what I said, what is it that you can't, what is it that you want? Because like I said, if you're, I mean, if we're going to talk about, you know, outer appearance, stuff like that, like, yeah, like when people go out or like, you know, go to a fancy dinner or go somewhere, they're going to look different than they look like, you know, obviously when you're just sitting at home on the couch. So I mean, you know, your appearance might fluctuate a little bit, but who you are and what your values and what your, like, what you bring to the table or what you know, how you are with me, you know, on a regular basis, those are different things. Those are things where it's like, I got to know, like, who you are in those situations versus maybe how you might differ your looks from nighttime to morning.
yeah, that's on a different scale, which actually goes into this next segment. When it comes to men and women, what double standards come to mind? Family, we can use your help on this. Because there's double standards. There's a lot of double standards. So while you thinking about that, let me ask this question. Are men and women equal?
No.
But they have the opportunity to bring equal value.
Yes, in different areas.
In different areas.
Yes.
But we're not equal.
No.
Okay. So if we're not equal, what double standards do you see from a woman's perspective that a lot of women look at men and say, you know what, I can do that. But when they don't get the same outcome.
Okay, so, well, kind of, I mean, so when you're saying like a woman, so even roles and jobs and different things like that. So like, you know, I grew up doing like, you know, outside things like mowing the grass, like taking the, like I didn't do the dishes or the laundry or something like that where like my, you know, my sisters did, like that wasn't stuff that I did, but as a, you know, so as an adult and like when you're looking to be in a relationship, those are typically things that a man wants you to do and they do the other stuff. Because you were saying, you know, we've talked about the whole, you know, alpha and different roles, and where it's like you are looking for a, you know, an alpha or a certain male or a certain type of male is looking for a feminine woman. And so if, you know, if I'm not bringing that, then, you know, if I'm not bringing, you know, those type of job qualities or things to the table, but I want a certain man, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, I feel like those are double standards. Like, I mean, I just feel like those are like, I can't or shouldn't have those jobs or roles or shouldn't be liking those and also be like a feminine woman.
I see what you're saying. Excuse me. I think that when it comes to the workplace, yeah, there are, just because of a woman's makeup, yeah, she may be suited better for feminine jobs, feminine roles in the jobs. I'm not saying that they can't do certain jobs well, that men often do. But when it comes to the, I don't look at a woman different, just when it comes to the body, you know what I'm saying, like, men are just naturally stronger than women.
Yes.
So there are certain jobs, you know what I'm saying, in the work field that is demanding that in order for a woman to be able to do as effective, she has to raise her masculine energy, her level of masculine energy to be able to do it. Whereas if you look 50, 60, 70 years ago, women outlived men. Because when it came to office jobs, secretarial jobs, you know, a lot of the nurses, they were women. So when it came to the factory jobs, the coal mines, you know, and those type of things, the men did. Women outlive men 20 to 30 plus years. Now you have women catching up to men and dying young. So yes, that is a double standard. Double standard in relationships, which is common and an issue in a lot of relationships when it comes to cheating, sex,
partners.
you know, the body count. You know, those are double standards. And even though we touched on it last week, even though women can have a high body count, it's hard for her to connect with the man that she wants after having a high body count. Agree or disagree?
I mean, why? If it's, I mean, why is it any different for, or are you saying because of the emotions and stuff?
Because of the emotions. So, if a woman's body count 10, 20, 30, and even with women body count that's lower, depending on how effective the men that she was with imprinted on her, she can have a body count of 3. And if all 3 of those men imprinted on her effectively, then the 4th man that she actually wants to be with, all the ideologies of those other men now is in confrontation with the man that she wants to be with. Women don't like it. Men can have sex and it means nothing to us. And still love the woman that we are with at home. I know you can't stand it. I know you can't. And most women can't. Most women can't stand it. Most women refuse to deal with it. And that's your choice.
It's not a choice. Because
that is your choice.
I mean, it is and it is, but I'm saying it's just, it's how we're built. Like you said, I feel like to sit there and say that you can literally do that act and feel nothing. Like, I don't understand how you can be intimate with someone like that and literally just walk away.
Because that's how we're built. We're built to multiply and subdue the earth. That's how we're built. So think about if we go back to biblical times. You had a lot of war. A lot of times there wasn't peace. You had the sense of war looming around every corner. A man didn't have time to put 30 minutes, an hour into intimacy with a woman. He had to bang bang and get up, take his sword up, or go to work.
Okay, well, we're not,
So,
we're not
I know
there
that
anymore.
But you have to understand, men today, now men who ain't got shit to do, they can have all the sex they want with you all day long. They have time for it. And I promise you, his life is probably mediocre. But men who are working towards something, who's always grinding, who's always hustling, they don't have that time to put in. And that's where we talked about the quality of time versus time.
And that's what I'm gonna say. I would take, then obviously if I had a man in that situation, I would take one good quality time for a while than 5, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would know.
It sounds good.
Well, I'm saying.
It sounds good to a woman. But see, here, and the reason why I say it sounds good to most women is because until they've experienced a man who's purpose-driven, they'll say, you know what, well, I want my man to be ambitious. You don't know what that means. You don't know what you're saying. You're saying it because it sounds good, because you have this idea of a life that you want to live. But I tell women all the time, a man that's on purpose don't have time for you. He makes time, he sets time aside for you, but he doesn't have time for you because he's reading, he's studying, he's trying to be the best in his field. So he's always, when he's, like I tell my children, when daddy's not working, I'm working. Even when I'm asleep, my brain is not shutting off. How to do this, how to get this going. You know, I want to have multiple streams of revenue. That takes planning, it takes time, it takes resources. So how to move this resource over here and make this resource flourish to be able to do this. So sitting up here, giving a woman my undivided attention for 3-4 hours of the day, that every day, that means I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, well then I guess I feel like, okay, that goes back to, relationships that you're in. Like, if you're in a relationship and you are obviously like, that's who you are, that's who you want to be, that's the type of person you want to be, those are things that someone has to, deal breaker, has to understand about you and be willing to say, okay, like, I know you can't give me 3 to 4 hours a day or whatever, but when you can give me time, you're going to, and I'm gonna, and like you said, I'm gonna appreciate that time. And that is what it is. And if that's not accepted, then those are things that if they changed about you, then it wouldn't be who you were. Well, you would be losing that. It wouldn't change. So okay. I knew you were gonna say that. It wouldn't change. Let's just be honest.
and yes, you know, and like I said, a lot of women say they want a man who has aspirations, who's purpose-driven, who's goal-oriented. But a lot of those same women can't deal with that type of man.
No, and those might be things where you're saying that someone says up front, oh yeah, I'm gonna be cool with that, I'm okay with that, right. And then that mask comes off, and then when you do it to them a couple times, they're like, I'm not okay with this.
Because they have their own intentions of what they want out of the relationship. So just like men, women will say whatever necessary to get the outcome that they want. And then get mad when they find out that the other individual has manipulated them. But y'all manipulated each other. Y'all lied to each other. You know, and Ethan laughs when me and him have conversation. Ethan laughed because there was a situation, and I told him, I said, look, man, you know, this individual got mad, you know, at the time because I was just starting a podcast. I didn't know what it was going to take. So I'm researching, I'm studying, I'm reading, I'm watching videos, and you know, this person said do this, and this person said don't do that, do this, and you know, so I was in a place trying to figure all of this out, and I'm continuing to figure it out. And I told him, I'm like, dude, I don't have time for these women out here. Like, one woman asked me if, you know, she expressed that she was interested, and I told her, I said, you know what, no disrespect, but right now, I'm fucking the shit out of my purpose. You know what I'm saying? And I have a table at home, and it's covered with books like that. I'm reading, like my children come over, they see me reading, they see me researching and studying, and I take time to spend with them. You know, I put my phone on silent, and you know, unless it's family, I'm not bothered. And like I said, because of the fairy tale that most women have been fed, they would have a problem with it. Mm-hmm. You know, and for men, the double standard is a couple of the double standards is the way women have been allowed to talk to us. The way women have allowed to put their hands on us physically and not get the same outcome if the roles was reversed. 100%. I've seen women, I've experienced women jump in a man's face. Get some water real quick. I've seen women jump in a man's face as if they could physically beat him. Now, if that man was to haul off and give you the what for, then what? Now you want to be treated like a woman after you approached him in masculine energy?
Yeah. No, those are definitely the double standards.
You know, so, and then even now, in the culture that we're in, women are allowed to hold men accountable. And then when men hold women accountable, you have this cancel culture now. Well, why are you attacking women? For holding them accountable? It's not an attack if I'm pointing out a flaw in your character because you would do the same thing to me. Rightfully so. If there's a bigger picture in mind, if we relate, we are in relation with everyone. There's levels to this shit. So how intimate you are with an individual is just a degree of levels. So I'm not going to, with men approach each other different. Excuse me. With the level of understanding that at any time it can go down. You cross that line, you can get the what for. But women don't approach men like that no more. Women don't, and I'm not talking about the fuck boys out there. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about men. Grown ass men. And that's a double standard. And in intimate relationship, you have, doggone it, I just did the research on it last month. When you look in domestic violence, when you look at domestic violence, once again, there's degrees to domestic violence. The highest form of domestic violence, what do they call it? Domestic terrorism. That's when you're basically a captive, with your significant other. That's on a whole different level of things. But when it comes to domestic violence, when it breaks down, men are vilified because when men do snap, the amount of strength and force put behind their response. But statistics show that the percentage of domestic violence from women to men is only difference in degrees, because they take in the DSM, they take in account spitting, the hitting, the name calling, the finger pointing, the this, the taunting. They put all of that, the throwing of dishes and different pieces. So the DSM actually break it all down. But when you hear domestic violence, all of a sudden it's man. It's man. So a lot of women have gotten away with domestic violence. And then when a man calls the cops, one of you got to leave the home. 9 times out of 10, it's the man. So in order for us to get our relationships back solid, I've said it on the show before, we need therapy.
I don't disagree with that. So actually, I know someone who presented that early on in a relationship.
Therapy?
Yes.
Okay.
And the partner did not reciprocate that well at all, because they felt that, oh, well, if you're asking to go to therapy with me, you must see problems, and we're not even far in our relationship yet to where you think that there's already that you can't accept me or how I am, and so why are we even going to continue in this relationship, because you already want to go to therapy. Whereas he was looking at like, no, like I just want to bypass, I just want to sit down with you and just have candid conversations with the therapist and make sure that we just get it all out in this situation and that we are good. Like I'm telling you, I want to be with you, and so I care enough about you to go to therapy with you, but it wasn't looked at like that.
And from a man's point of view, when we see a woman respond like that, if we initiate the therapy,
and it was,
and we take that as, damn, I don't have a safe space. So you want me as your man to be your best friend, your lover, homie, friend, but I'm not safe.
I thought I turned it off. Sorry, go on.
Rookie shit.
I swear I turned my sound off.
And see, when for those who are religious, you know that in whatever sect that you practice, before you get married, you go to marriage counseling. So why is it, I don't understand so many people have an issue with actually going to see a clinician, because each relationship that you detach from, they consider that a death. A part of you has died. So now you have to figure out how to cope. First acknowledge the trauma of the ripping apart of a relationship. Then you need to accept that it has happened. Then you need to learn how to cope with it. Then you need to learn how to move on from that. We need help.
100%.
We need help. So, you know, and when we have these candid conversations, we're not any type of clinicians. We're not any type of professionals. You know, we're having this based on information and experiences that we've had and different things that the different conversations we've had with other individuals. And so with that being said, I have, since my last traumatic experience, I encourage everyone to at least go and seek professional help, you know, because we dealing with this stuff in our mind, and then we're dealing with the stuff in our spirit.
And if you don't take care of it, it's just gonna go with you to the next relationship, and that's gonna fail as well.
Right. Exactly. So, all right, we can keep going on, but I want to get to this next part. Part 3. Oh, man. Family, I know that we have a lot of mixed, biracial, whatever terminology you want to use. We have a lot of human mutts out here in the world. We have more biracial individuals than we've ever had in today's society than ever before. And y'all, for those who saw the post earlier on my news feed, you know, one of the topics was, you know, are you a token Negro? You know, and growing up, I grew up in Jeffersonville, Indiana. Predominantly white. Like, when I went to school, I was probably one out of 20, 30 something other black kids in the school. When I went to church, my family was one out of 8 to 10 black families in the church. Now the church was, I want to say it sat like 5,000-6,000. So being so growing up in that environment, I got to see the other side of the tracks. But what it did was, it lulled me to sleep when it came to white supremacy and the corrupt system. Excuse me. So I was outside of playing sports. All of my close friends were white. We grew up. I didn't hear any derogatory terms from their parents. So I just thought that outside of our color, we was just one and the same. When I came to the big city, now anybody that's familiar with Jeffersonville, Indiana, even though it's an upcoming city, it's still country. Okay, it's still country. You can go down the road, you know, you're on the city street one moment, and you're on gravel the next moment. But it's still it's like I said, it's still an upcoming blossoming city, but it's still country. When I came to the big city, my whole life changed. My entire world was shattered because I experienced racism when I was in the what? Sixth grade for the first time. You know, being in a predominantly white neighborhood and community, you date inside of the culture. So I dated, I started dating this white girl, and I was a football player. I was a jock. She was a cheerleader. That's what, She came back the next day. She was excited that I even accepted, because, that was back then. We wrote the notes.
Check yes or no.
Check yes or no. Do you like me? Yes or no. Check the box. And, I checked the box. And, that's when you said, okay, you made it official. We go together. The boys gave the girls their Letterman jackets. So she had my Letterman jacket. She was excited. She went home and, told her father she was dating a black football star. She came back to me the next day and said, my dad said I had to break up with you. So I'm like, well, okay, well, why? Well, and I'm like, I'm trying to coax it out of her. She said, because you're black. First time I ever heard that in my life. But still, because of how I was raised in an all-white community, it was just like, okay, whatever, he tripping. My next incident, I come to Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland is way different than Indiana. Mm-hmm. So I'm in Indiana. I was a church boy, went to church 3-4 times a week, all day on Sunday. That was our lifestyle. So I was a nerd, church boy. I was just a straight and narrow type of young man. So I came here, and once again, football player, sports player, dated another white girl. She came back and said the same thing. I said, whoa, hold on. So I'm like, I was confused then. I said, this is the second time. So family started, hipping me up to game in the big city, and until I started seeing it and hearing it, I was oblivious to it. Because like I said, you grow up, even though I was black, growing up in a white culture, it was just like, well, I'm white, but I'm just blackface. Little did I know that there was an entire fuck system that was surrounding the ideology of racist white supremacy. Mm-hmm. And as I got older, a lot of my white friends, I would hear, well, you're not as bad as the other ones. And I started becoming angry because I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Mm-hmm. Like, what do you, because when I looked at black, we was all black. So the more and more I heard it, the more and more angrier I got. Because I'm like, oh, okay, the reality started to really sink in. And all through high school, my anger, I despised white people because of my experiences. Now, mind you, I have 2 godmothers. One of my godmothers is white. Mm-hmm. But the anger and the disdain for white people that I had when I experienced racism in the big city, and when I look around even now, I see a lot of my black counterpart, my black people, black family. I see them surrounded by white people. And I don't use that all white people ain't bad. What I do say is You're a suspected supremacist, white supremacist, until you show me otherwise. And
unfortunately, that's how it has to be now.
Unfortunately, it does.
Because in even situations, I mean, it's hidden so well now, where people are doing it and being able to do it behind the scenes, to where you don't even know, or you have to really like, dig deep, to figure it out. Or like I said, they're able to just like do different things behind the scenes that's racist that you don't even know.
But when I saw that, when I started being taught about different systems that were in place, because when I had a disdain for white people, it was, oh, you're racist too. But then when I started looking into racism, I'm like, black people can't be racist. We can be bigots. We can have, our thoughts and how we feel about other cultures and ethnic groups. But we don't have a power structure in place in order to tell you, no, you can't live here. Because we can have a black neighborhood and a white person can still move into our neighborhood, and then if we try and get them out, Popo coming and Popo white. So now Popo is taking a side even though they're the minority in our community. Whereas redlining still exists. Jim Crow laws are still being practiced today. And so a lot of black people, and the reason why I wanted to have this conversation is because, yes, I do have a lot of white friends. And one of the things that they know where I stand, even though they'll never be able to understand it because they'll never be able to walk in my shoes. But they get it. They get it. And
I think that's it, is getting and accepting, who you are for who you are, and not trying to change you, and not trying to, because so to go back real quick on the beginning when you talked about like the different, mix and different names and stuff like that. Like, I growing up, like, I heard people, call my friends or other people, Oreo or different things, or African, and none of those things should ever be said. And my daughter would, she would let people say things like that to her, and I was like, no, but you can't even let, and she'd be like, well, they're my friend. I'm like, first of all, like, if you let your friend, your so-called friend, say that to you, then the next person who's not your friend, they're going to think that they can say it, and there's going to be hatred behind it when they say it. And so you can't differentiate that. And being a friend with someone just to say, oh, well, I have a black friend, or I have friends that are black, but what is your, like people would say, like, oh, it's just so and so, or it's just this person, or they're not really black. Like, that stuff was said before, and it's like, but yes, they are, like, but what is their backstory? You know what I'm saying? And why are you letting is it just because of who they are and their backstory that you're letting them be your friend? Because they're not, like you said, like the others, or bad, you know what I'm saying? Like, so why is it that you pick, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why is it that you pick them?
Well, here's the thing. You have, like I always say, there's degrees to this. So you have people like myself who study the system. I'm only 5 years into this. You have people who's been studying this system for 20 plus years. And so when they say, oh, that's just such and such, they're not really black. They're talking about the mindset. Because black and white is a mindset. It's not. And so because it's a mindset, what they're saying is that even though that individual has melanin, their mindset falls in line with systematic racism. Because I can take this person, the same colored person, the same melanin person, with us out to the bar, they gonna look at the other black people the exact same way we look at them. So they're safe. They're not going to challenge how I think, how I feel. And the thing is, when it comes to my black brethren and sisters, the dangerous part in that, if we are not concrete in knowing who we are, we can be sleeping with the enemy. Because at the end of the day, you can be in a relationship with a black person and then feel some type of way about what they're doing. And as a white woman, you can cry rape. And all of a sudden, now his life is in jeopardy. Whereas if a sister, prime example, a couple years ago, the officer's name slipped my mind. I can't think of the officer's name. He raped over 9 black women. And the only reason why he got charged is because they found DNA. These women were filing charges against this police officer who was white Asian. They was filing charges, but the only reason why he got charged is because they found DNA. It don't matter. A non-black woman can say a black man touched her, and there's repercussions. When it comes to the black family, there's always been war to break us up. So this is why you have a lot of individuals, they just say, just stay within your race, stay within your culture, stay within your ethnic group, because they're looking at the trauma that the kids are gonna have to deal with. You know, and we discussed it last week as far as being raised by 2 different ethnic parents as a child. And like I said, when I was raised white, but I was a black boy.
So the world saw you
Exactly.
as that.
Exactly. And I was treated as such. And a lot of times, because of just the way y'all have been taught, that black friend is usually the charity case. He or she is not really a friend, they're the charity case.
And that's the thing, you gotta look at what situations are your friends, or are you being invited to, or like, are you being asked to come over to my house with my family, or are you being asked to just go out with us to a certain restaurant, a certain place,
right.
just to, you know,
right.
So it's like the situations that your friends are putting you in.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I've...
Because, go ahead. So real quick, and honestly, like, you know, unfortunately, you know, it's hard to decipher sometimes when situations are for what they are.
Right.
So like in school systems and stuff, like my daughter has been asked at several different school systems to be a part of open houses or different things. And I'm like, okay, are you having her do that because she's got this bubbly personality, and you know, and she, you know, you just want her to, you know, help with this because she has, you know, a lot of knowledge and can really be, you know, encouraging to the upcoming
right.
kids, or are you doing that so that they see that you have diversity in your school? So it's hard. I mean, how do you know when something? I mean, do you just take that situation and say, you know what, there could be malice behind it, or there could be this behind it, but I'm gonna kill it. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do a good job at it, and just prove myself as a young black woman. You know, in her case, or do you say, or, you know what I'm saying? So how do you, like, do you just take those opportunities and do them anyways?
So you got to make the choice, of course. You know, it's always the choice. Am I going to, or am I not? If you make the choice to take that opportunity, I always tell my brothers and sisters to go into it eyes wide open. Don't go in it with the sense of, you know what, they chose me because I'm the best in my field, which they could have, but they have to prove that. They have to prove that to you. You don't have to prove that you're the best in your field to them. Now, with that being said, going into it with your eyes wide open, you have to understand that you are singled out, and you're the only individual there of your kind. So even if you are 99% right, your white counterparts can say something and smear your name that quick. Whereas if you have something against your white counterpart, management is going to say, well, you have to bring me proof. But your white counterpart can just say something. So we have to be aware of that when we go and when we make choices, situations, because it's sad, but one of the things that I do when I go to different places, I count how many black people are in the place. And then I sit up there and I make eye contact. We'd be like, all right, if anything, just, without saying it, if anything go down, you got my back, right? But it's
unfortunate.
But it's unfortunate, but nothing has changed for us.
No.
They say, well, you're in a better place. Well, not really. We're really not. We're still dealing with cops killing unarmed individuals. We're still dealing with cops putting their knees and beating 13-year-old little girls, shooting 15-year-old little girls and little boys. Excuse me. Now I'm talking about the unarmed individuals, the ones that ain't having no problem. But when it comes to our white counterparts, if I was a white man, I can hold an axe to a cop and say I'm going to kill you, and that cop is still going to try and talk me down. Whereas you have cops saying, well, I thought a cell phone was a gun. Nothing has changed. The only thing that's become more prevalent is because of these right here. That's it. But 100%. It has always happened. So I worry when I see black brothers and sisters who are surrounded by other ethnic groups outside of themselves. Because if danger lurks around the corner, and if something was to go down, that if I look like you, I'm more inclined to do something to help.
And that's the bigger picture, is because if you don't have to put yourself in someone's shoes, or you've never been in their shoes, you don't get that. Because I had this conversation with Jordan's dad many of times, because in schools, in her school groups, or when she'd have sleepovers, or when in her activities that she chose, he's like, she has no black friends, Amanda. And I'm like,
right.
Well, but she's choosing her friends. I can't choose them for her. I'm like, what I'm saying? I'm like, she's picking them, and and she gets along with them, and this and that. And I didn't understand that until now, as a 15-year-old, young lady, to see her, making choices and finding the girls that look like her in she's at these track meets where all these schools are coming from everywhere, and like today she's walking around and hanging out with the girl from a different school that's black that she just met today, that she didn't choose to hang out with all the girls that she has known and goes to school with. She picked one that looked just like her. And it's like, and I understand that now, and like I said, when we would have these conversations, I'm like, yeah, but they obviously have something in common, or they like each other, or they get along. But like you said, to put yourself in a situation where someone has your back, is you won't ever be able to understand unless you have to be in those shoes or in that situation. So I can look at it and be like, how are we going to pick her friends? Why can't she, why can't she have the best of both worlds? Or why can't she have, white friends too? I got defensive because I didn't understand.
Yeah, and it is difficult for y'all. Because, like I said, a lot of y'all, just because of the color of your skin, y'all are allowed to grow up in a bubble. We don't have that choice. We don't have that luxury to grow up in the bubble. And even with the black individuals that have a white mindset, even though they grow up in the bubble, it always comes a situation where they get their Negro wake-up call. you still a Negro. You know, and I had a family member who was married to a white guy, and when I met him, I said, something's not right. But he's never been disrespectful in my presence. But something is off about him. So they were having issues. I had went and visit them for some time. I took a vacation where they lived. And when I left, I get a phone call saying, don't get mad. Not by her, by one of her family members. Mm-hmm. Don't get mad. Don't say anything. She's handling it. And I said, what happened? Just what happened? Well, they got into an argument, and he got so pissed off, he called her a nigger bitch. I was silent. It's always there. It takes the right situation to trigger it. So I sat on the phone. All I heard was, hello? Hello? Please tell me you're not going to do something. I said, did he put his hands on her? Well, no, it hasn't come down to that yet. Call me when you do. Because at that moment, yeah, I'm just going to be locked up. The thing is, he knew even in a volatile situation, he could always cash in his white chips. Because the system the system was created to protect your culture, your livelihood, your family, your structures. It was never created to protect us. So, yeah, you know, it would be nice if we can just actually judge each other based off of the character, like Martin said, but not the content of the character, not the complexion of the skin. Paraphrasing, but
and that's the thing, to have to sit here and you know, worry about who's your friend, or even not even who's your friend, who their family is, because a lot of times now, like, you know, my daughter will come home and she's made some friends that are white, and they genuinely, you know, like her for who she is, and they want to hang out with her. But when it comes down to her going to their house, she hasn't been allowed to go to their house at times because the dad is racist. And I was like, well, first of all, I would never let you go over there, knowing that now. I obviously, but you know, I would never let you go over there now that I know that, because I'm never going to put you in that situation willingly. And so, but it's like, but then, you know, the kids, you know, want to be friends and want to have a relationship, but they're not allowed.
And here's the crazy thing. The kids want to be friends with her now, but they haven't gotten into life's reality yet. Because in life's reality, I don't care in what culture, what ethnic group you're in, interracial dating has always been frowned upon. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, a lot of times, yeah, you like who you like, you fall in love with who you fall in love with. But when are we going to start questioning it? Is it the best for the children? You said last week, you said you put your family in situations that you felt was best for y'all. But it wasn't until you realized that it wasn't best for your daughter where you start looking at things differently. And I said, that's good, because most parents are selfish anyway. So you're dealing with these particular situations. Once she gets out of school, she has to deal with life. A lot of white men and women, they love dating and sleeping with black men and women because we're looked at as exotic. And they're able, white men are able to say with their frat brothers, yeah, I banged me a black chick. You know what I'm saying? That's a notch on my belt, a check on my bucket list. You know, and most white girls, outside of having babies, would never tell their white husbands that they slept with a black guy. in their previous lives, because I tell my white female friends all the time, if you ever tell the white man that you end up marrying that you've been with a brother, you're tainted. Now you're marked. I'm about to say, so the man that you want, you'll never be able to get him. That's why I said the system is, until you start looking at it for what it is. Like I said, a lot of people, unfortunately, love living in the matrix. I have a son. I have a black son. I have a black daughter. Their melanin is not as dark as mine, but they have a lot of melanin in their blood, in their body. So my son, he's always been in that 80% percentile of his height and weight. His uncles on both sides of the family is 6'2" and up, or 6 feet and up. So he's gonna be a tall boy. You've even said it. You was like, just looking at him, I thought he was older than he is. So imagine if he makes the wrong move. And my 13-year-old son, I have to give him enough information to protect him, but not too much to take away from his childhood. If he was a white 13-year-old boy, all the way up through college, he can fuck around and do all types of bullshit and still come back and say, Daddy, I need help. But my 13-year-old son, I can't allow him to be too much of a child. You know what I'm saying? And it's unfortunate, but this is the society that we live in. You know, so, you know, for him to, he loves coming to the shop. And for him to see black men grinding and working and, you know, taking care of their families and leading, being in a leadership position, that says a lot to him.
So important.
You know, so now he grows up just like the black men that he see. I ain't got to take shit from nobody, but I gotta know how to play chess. I gotta understand chess. So when he does something, I'm like, okay, well, do you understand how your decision affected this situation, could possibly affect this situation? And I lead him down at least 3 to 4 moves to his understanding. Oh, Dad, yeah, I see that now. There you go. So I got to teach you how to think like a chess player, even if you don't know how to play chess. I still have to teach you the fundamentals of the game, because that's how we have to shake and move. It's unfortunate. My daughter,
It really is.
Baby, you're pretty. Even, you know, you're not as dark as me. You're darker than your mother, but lighter than me. You're pretty. Boys are gonna look at you as exotic and something to tame. So just understand that. Black men are gonna want you because you may not be as dark as them. That's where colorism plays a part in our community. Because, you know, back in the day, there was a paper bag test, the brown paper bag test. So if you were darker than the brown paper bag, then you were too dark to pass as a white person. But they were too dark to be white. So they separated themselves from the rest of the community. And so you had a lot of different societies that were created from this. So this is where you get colorism in our community. And so you have, you know, different individuals who feel that, you know, well, I don't want to deal with them. I'm not like them. And that goes back to, you said that you've heard white people say, well, you're not like them. You're different. And it's because of their mentality. So We've discussed a lot tonight.
I know we have. It's been good.
Excuse me. But family, like I said, these are the type of conversations that within your inner circle need to be had. Mm-hmm. With your family members need to be had. Is it difficult? Of course. The individuals that know me personally, when I say hashtag no filter, I have no filter when it comes to those who are close to me. And the fact that I can sit and have this same conversation and don't give a fuck that a white woman is sitting next to me, respectfully, just saying. But let you know, I told y'all that we're going to have some difficult conversations, especially between the two of us, because we've already had them.
And I think this is where the barriers start to get broken.
Yeah, of course.
Is having them. And it's not, there's not confrontation. There never has been. Because, they're literally, you learning, me learning, everyone's learning from it. Like, I mean, these conversations have to be had respectfully, and they are.
Right. One of the biggest things is that, it's easy for me to have difficult conversations, within a monologue, but to have it a back and forth with different individuals, and we're going to have these same type of conversations as we start to bring guests in. We're still going to continue to have them, so, but like we always do, at the beginning and end of every show, giving shout outs to, I can just say it. There you go. Giving shout outs to entrepreneurs and business owners and like-minded individuals. My sister, Aries Owens. I need another woman to promote, y'all. I love promoting my sister, and I'm going to continue to promote her. But I need another young lady who is doing something that I can promote on the show and on the podcast. So let's keep this thing going. So reach out to me. You can hit me up at Candid Conversations, the number 7 at gmail.com. If you're selling something, if you have a product, email me. I'll forward them to her. She can look them over and say yeah or nay.
Oh, Lord.
No, we'll discuss it and go over it, and we'll reach out to you and everything. But support Aries Owens, support Mr. Ethan West, support Rodney Dukes and polish him off. Support the homie Megadon216, IG and Facebook, Megadon216, T-shirt line Surf Club 216, representing Cleveland, Ohio. So support him. Support my aunt Kim Black and her paintings. You can go over to her page. She posts paintings. You can go into her photos and look and see if there's something that you like and support her. My brother, Fred Council Jr., at FC on the Beats. I'm telling y'all, his music production game is fire. Fire, fam. His beats, I'm telling y'all, if you don't find nothing in his catalog that you like, that means you suck. Like, you just garbage. But, oh yeah, and then my little brother, I'm representing his alma mater, Indiana State University. So I decided to wear this tonight. So shout out to my baby brother, Tyrell Dowdell. Shout out to him. What else? Oh, fam. Next week's topic. Let me sit up for this one.
Are you about to tell him what it is?
Yeah, because I want the family's help next. I really want the family's help next week. Like, so next week's topic, fam. Tune in. 8 p.m. Tuesday to get the topic.
Oh my god.
Oh no! So next week, we're going to be talking about monogamy and polygamy. We're going to be having that discussion. I told y'all we bring in hot fire this season. So we're going to be talking about monogamous relationships and polyamorous relationships, what that looked like,